Hey everyone, this is the underscore SynchroGuy, and I'm here today to talk about the brand new TCG ban list that just got revealed to us last Friday. And while this list didn't bring a whole lot of changes, it did knock one deck off the tier ladder, so maybe that could be good, and well, let's figure it out. Let's take a look and see what the future TCG metagame is going to be looking like as we move forward, as well as what we can potentially expect to come. Now keep in mind, this list is only for the TCG, which is everywhere but Asia, so if you do not live in the TCG area, then this list will not affect you in any way. First up, we only have one card that is forbidden now, and that is Kashtira Arise Heart. And with this, Kashtira is done being your tier 1. That's my take on it. Arise Heart being a walking macrocosmos on legs was already good enough, but throwing in the ability to attach itself any card that gets banished and can banish any other card face down as a quick effect, and you got yourself quite the boss monster. Not to mention, players have also found a way to keep their one Arise Heart being very hard to get rid of. But now that strategy's out the window. Don't get the wrong idea though, Kashtira is still a very strong deck. I mean, a card like Familiar is still a very good card, and still a 3, keep that in mind. And they also have a card like Shangri Era, which can zone lock you if you're not careful enough. So chances are they may just focus a little bit more on that strategy, but we'll see. But even so, Kashtira is still a very strong deck that can put up a bunch of level 7 monsters and go into practically just about any rank 7 Xyz monster that you can think of. And they can still use some powerful hand traps like Dimension Shifter and Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, which also means they have access to Baronite de Fleur. While Kashtira is not going to be tier 1 anymore, at least in my book, that deck is still going to be very good, at least in the tier 3 slots, so it may still pop up here and there, so be on the lookout for the deck still. Moving on to the limited section, we have Yugioh and Magnemon down at 1. I mean, it was only a matter of time. Magnemon is such a really good card. It's still surprising this thing first came out as a super rare. Being able to search and add any dragon monster or recover a dragon monster from your graveyard is so good. Just even if it is during the end phase, it's still very good. So you can either search out another Yugioh monster for further disruption, or getting any other dragon monster you need for a fallout for the next turn. All in all, this card helped a deck like Dragon Link become very consistent. And the fact that Magnemon is also a 2500 attack beater also means it can help bring in some big damage. While this hit has been coming for a while, this is most likely due to the fact that Dragon League took Worlds in August this year. Now, I don't suspect this hit is gonna hurt Dragon League all too much. Like, that deck is, in my book, is still gonna be, like, at least in the meta spotlight for a while longer. Seriously, even with one Magnum, the deck can still easily function with just one Magnum. Not to mention, with a card like a Brand New Regain, you can easily summon it back and trigger to get another search. So yeah, you should probably still expect to see Dragon Link in the spotlight for a while longer as we move forward. Next up on the list, Chaos Space down to 1. This is yet another hit to the Dragon Link deck, so of course it's to be expected since they did win Worlds. But Chaos Space brought in some really great consistency, as it helped the deck like Dragon Link get access to cards like White Dragon Wyvern Burster, Black Dragon Collapse Serpent, Chaos Levianeer, and the Bestial Libellion, so yeah. And not to mention, you can even recycle back one of these cards if they were banished, or even an extra drag monster, and get a draw on top of all that. But as I said before, I don't suspect Dragon Link to be officially done being the meta spotlight. The deck is still very consistent, and it'll most likely be keeping an eye out for any other light and dark strategies or support that may pop up. Overall, Dragon Link is still far from being done in the metagame. Moving into the unlimited section, Hell of Orange Light now on 3, and this is not gonna really change a whole lot. Like, yeah, this card was first originally went down to 1. That's because of a deck like Drytron abused it so well, but that's mostly because they use a card like Ava, which is still banned in the TCG, mind you. So because of that, it's not going to mean like a deck like Drytron is going to be super tier 1 meta again. But yeah, I don't suspect Herald of the Orange Light to do any big changes to the metagame. Like, it may pop up here and there in Drytron and maybe some fairy decks, but again, with Ava still banned, this card isn't going to be that too big of a deal. The last change on the list is Salamangreat Gazelle going to 3. Now, The time has finally come. We saw this change first happen on Master Duel, and we figured it was only a matter of time. And good timing too, since the Solomon Great deck did just get some new support last month. However, this does not mean that Solomon Great is gonna be tier 1 again. While the deck is a very good mid-range style deck, there are still some other decks out there that could put out some very powerful plays that make it really hard for this deck to compete. Don't get the wrong idea, Solomon Great is still worthy of respect, but it will probably just be hanging around in either the rogue tier or tier 3 slots. But hey, cool to see Gazelle come back to 3. Now let's start to see what the TCG metagame is going to be looking like as we move forward. So far, it's looking like that the metagame is still most likely going to be the same as it is now. Like really, the only big change is Cash Tier no longer being tier 1. And sure, Dragon Link got hit too, but that deck can still put up some nice plays, so I'm probably expecting it might still be tier 2 at the very least. Maybe it could still be tier 1, we'll see. Not to mention the other strong decks we currently have that did not get hit anywhere on this list. A deck like Purely, which still has access to 3 copies of Sleeping Memory, so that card's gonna give them a whole bunch of draws into either a bunch of hand traps or follow up for the next turn. And they also still have a card like Purely Noir, which can shuffle back a lot of the opponent's cards. Another deck that didn't get any hits is Labyrinth. Now, to be fair, this deck hasn't really done a whole lot, but one of the cards this deck has been known to play for is Eradicator Epidemic Virus, and that card made some big splashes in a couple YCSs earlier this year. So yeah, keep on the lookout for that. Then there's stuff like Branded Chimera and Unchained, but it shouldn't be surprising that these 2 decks didn't get any hits. I mean, one is still relatively brand new, and the other one just recently started to become very popular in the meta spotlight. So yeah, it was very unlikely these 2 decks were going to get any hits. As for everything else, there's stuff like Rescue Ace, Manadia, Rika Sun Avalon, but they haven't garnered too much attention for them to get any warrants for any hits. Same could be said for a couple of individual cards, except for a few of them. Now, one of them was, of course, Eradicator Epidemic Virus, but the other one is one that players have recently been really asking Konami to ban before it gets too out of hand, and that is Hot Red Dragon Archery King Calamity. While this card did make a tiny splash in the main game a while back, it started to garner more attention as we started to get new archetypes revealed that could summon out a bunch of high-level synchro monsters, and one that everyone has their eyes on is Centurion. This archetype can easily put out level 12 synchro monsters. Now, while Calamity isn't really easy to summon normally in a deck like Centurion, we do have a card like Crimson Dragon now, which can easily cheat out Hot Red Dragon Archer King Calamity, and properly too. Now granted, Calamity's effect is a when optional effect, so it can miss timing. So there's a chance it may not be the end all be all. And it'll only stop effects that activate on the field. So stuff that activates in the hand or in the graveyard can still activate properly. Even so though, that should not take away how powerful King Calamity's effect is. And plus, not every deck might not be able to work around King Calamity's effect. However, the Centurion archetype isn't going to make any appearance whatsoever until mid-November, so we do have some time before then. The thing you should be keeping an eye out for right now is the Age of Overload set. This set is going to release some powerful new cards, and it will be introducing 2 new engines into the game. One of these engines is the Horus engine, which can put out a bunch of level 8s on board, so which means you can go into some crazy rank 8 plays like Coach King Giant Trainer, pick one up now if you haven't already, Hope Harbinger, and Galaxy Eyes Full-Time Lord, and any other good rank games you could possibly think of. Plus, they can even threaten for lethal on your next turn if your opponent doesn't deal with the King's Sarcophagus as soon as possible. The other big engine is the Sinful Spoils engine, which can get out just any level 1 fire monster. Now, this engine is not just good for like a fire-based deck like Rescue Ace, it can also help you get out any other level 1 fire monster that could be really good, like say a card like Jetsikron, which can instantly get you access to synchro plays. If you have a deck that plays a monster that fits the level 1 fire slots, or your deck has room to play this engine and get out a certain level 1 fire monster that can help your deck, then this engine will be something you want to get. Other than these 2 engines, Age of Overload is also going to release some good generic stuff that you'll most likely want to try to get your hands on. Biggest one and probably the highlight from this set is SP Little Knight. And then there's some cards that are some support for some of the current archetypes like Vanquish Soul and Pendulum Magician, so definitely keep an eye out for these decks. To conclude, while this ban list did not bring in a whole lot of changes, it did kick off the best deck of the format. So now we will have to wait and see which decks will take the tier 1 crown. And while we do have some time, Age of Overload and Value Smashers will definitely be shaking out the meta game once they're officially released. How it's all going to go down though is anybody's guess. So overall, not the greatest ban list, but it does mean we have one less deck to worry about, for right now at least. So now, fellow duelists, be sure to study up on the future archetypes and engines that will be coming out in the future, because if you don't know how to properly deal with them, you're going to be in for a rough time. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, comment down what you think of this new ban list, and be sure to subscribe to get your daily dose of Yu-Gi-Oh goodness. I'll see you guys in the next video, and I hope you have/had an awesome day today.